Welcome back, guys. We're jumping into game number 1 of a best of 5 series between theonlybaus and KingofOsmane in the Pro Division of the ESOC Winter 2020 tournament qualifier round. We're into game 1 in Florida. Theonlybaus is spawning into the top right of the map, playing as the French civilization in the colour blue. His opponent is the KingofOsmane in the bottom left, colour green, playing as the British. Now, you didn't see earlier, I was in the lobby of the players, and the players have changed around about 10-20 times. They took a very long time to get into a idealized matchup they wanted to play. I've seen French, I saw Germans, Russian, Japanese. We went on like an endless cycle. Even Ottomans came out a little bit. But theonlybaus went on to offered up a French versus German, and then the KingofOsmane changed it to a British versus French. I think KingofOsmane would be happy for this matchup. Because I think the matchup slightly in British favour, considering previous show matches I've cast and previous tournament series, and also that KingofOsmane's favourite civ is the Japanese civilization. So it bodes really well how the British and both Japan are very kind of eco-centric. They sit back, they like to press their eco advantage, and then strike later with a more military superiority, but with a strong drive in eco. In this specific match so far, we've seen theonlybaus has taken on an 80 wood treasure where he has to take out 2 outlaw blow gunners. He's moving around, has picked up a second sheep, and his native scouts at the back of KingofOsmane's base, picking up one of KingofOsmane's safe sheep. And currently, theonlybaus has got 4 sheep to 2 sheep, so he's got some decent scouting advantage, and he's still got some sheep close back to his home base, ready to go to pick up at a later point. Going with the KingofOsmane now, he's gone for his own native scout treasure, which is guarded by 2 alligators. That's going to be quite an easy one. He's backing away. He wants to get the creep up on the alligator so that the alligator can wander around without directly attacking KingofOsmane. However, it looks like he's actually decided against this. Oh, he's unsure. He's like walking across. He's thinking, do I not? Is he checking for a nearby explorer of theonlybaus? He goes in. First shot on the alligator, crack shot onto the second. He's going to take the damage here, and he wants to grab the treasure very quickly and take it as safely as possible. He wouldn't want theonlybaus going for a potential treasure steal. That is why KingofOsmane went in there hard and quick. He was happy to take a bit of damage. He wanted that native scout. He has picked it up, and currently both explorers are still up, and both have native scouts available to use. KingofOsmane is now clicking up with the governor age up. That gives you the outpost wagon and the 200 coin. Yeah, I know exactly why. Turn that off. And turn that off. Yeah, sorry about that. We've seen the scouts of theonlybaus now coming. He was down at the back ends of the KingofOsmane. He's now walking over to the back, and he's picked up his safe sheep here, and possibly pick up his other sheep, and that currently is leading the sheep war 5-2. Theonlybaus is going up with the quartermaster, standard age-up politician for the French player, now dropping 400 wood. And we're going to see that theonlybaus are dropping a TP in transition, as well as gathering to get extra market text. He's already got the placer mines and the gang saw, so looking forward to get 75 wood going there. There's the placer mines being researched, as well as gathering another 125 wood so he can queue up steel traps at his own convenience when he ages up to the second age. Checking the first shipments to see if there's anything funky going on. Now, 3 CDB with 3 settlers on at the same time. And KingofOsmane is chopping predominantly wood at the moment to get some extra mana population. Mana's been dropped. He's currently up to 50 mana pop, with mana's been dropped out on the front of the base. He's got an outpost queued into the centre, but he's got 1 mana house going up there. He's already put 1 up on this hunt. He's got a safe hunt here. He's herding in this back hunt with another villager. He's pushing in at this point about 4 different hunts, with 3 hunts with his starting hunt still under his TC. So that KingofOsmane would be very happy with all these extra safe hunts for him to use as the game progresses. Theonlybaus has just aged up. 400 wood is now on the floor. He's got 21/20. That looks like he's... that is not normal. We don't usually see an overpop from the French at this point. I can only think of, if you've got 14 kit of 1 settler to get to the 15 population, we have a 21/20. The only bounce is possibly sending a 3 Hussar shipment to start off the game here. This may catch King of Osmane by slight surprise, because he's only got an outpost to defend, a town centre, and he's thrown up a racks now, but he may be caught off by an early 3 Hussar shipment from the only bounce. 4 couriers have been... So where's all that population from? Maybe he just overpop in the TC there. 4 CDB trained out from the only bounce there, and let's be like a stands opening with Hussars in queue. Let's go into units in queue to see what is being trained by both players. We've got Musketeers being trained at home for the only for King of Osmane, with 2 Hussars currently in queue with a 2 CDB to be trained in back at the only bounce's base. 2 CDB are going for a little side wander. If they're going for hunts, they've still got safe hunts back here, mines, so I can only assume a possible side build is starting to move out. This would make sense if he's shipped 700 wood as his second Age 2 shipment, and yes, there's the 700 wood there, so he will have the wood to be able to drop down any forward military buildings as he goes. Two Raxes being dropped from on the side of King of Osmane, and I'm unsure if King of Osmane is able to see this with his outpost. I don't think... Yes, so the only boss has only now scouted the outpost in the sense of the map, so he knows where the focal point is. 5 Hussars coming in from a raid from the right hand side, scaring 3 villagers into the outpost. He has seen that there's 5 musketeers with the Explorer grouped up, so he is aware that there's a musketeer, or there's a barracks being produced in base. And once he comes in to build up some more villagers, finds out that there'll be 5 more musketeers waiting for him there. 1 villager goes down. He's going to get out while he can. He doesn't want to get caught by these musketeers too much. He's got all his HP available. Or does he set a trade? No, he's going to back off for there. 15 musketeers are out for King of Osmane on the field, with the only bounce dropping a 2 Raxes on the side, as previously mentioned. He does have 2 musketeers. He's now bumped that straight up to 10 musketeers being produced, and is looking to play this possibly into the second age moving forward. I'm unsure about his decision at the moment. King of Osmane does have access to a lot of safe hunts here, at least 3-4 hunts still to go. He's got large eco. However, I'm looking at King of Osmane's macro. He's got 900 food, 400 coin, possibly wanting to send 700 coin now and getting a age up to age 3 behind this, possibly assuming that the only bounce would have done a normal standard semi-FF play. So yes, the 700 coin has just been shipped to the British town centre and is now gathering it up. And once you have committed as a British player to just have decided to go up, I think the British King of Osmane will commit to aging up, because he's only got the slow age up, so he kind of needs the 700 coins to kind of spur him on to get that age up in queue, unless he waits for a longer in time to get that stronger economy going to help him age up at a later point. Checking out the recalculate population, we see that the British, as they normally would do, is slightly leading this the economic war by 37 economic population to 32. The only bounce has shipped 4 CDB, but there's not much way that the only bounce can increase this lead. Still queuing up 2 musketeers from both the racks to be pushed forward later, and has sent Expos as his home town centre to be using to fight. He's pushing in before there's 8 Expos are with the army, which, you know, possibly questionable. But I think he's sniffed out. He's aware that the King of Osmane is not really defending this with his own units. He's hands back away, which is a very large clue that King of Osmane is aging up. He's called out a premature Minutemen, unable to pop onto anything, and the only bounce has seen this, but he's thinking, do I try and pick off 6 Minutemen on their own, or do I back off? And he's decided to back off now that some longbows have been trained, musketeers are reinforcing behind, and Minutemen are, although their HP is decreasing, they're still on the field. Musketeers coming in from the top. Oh, we just got you to change. Right, hopefully that's the sound set up there. Infantry mass moving to the right-hand side of the map, trying to look for any further villages. Oh, we got 3 exposed villages. The EONlybaus may have seen that one of these hunts have been destroyed. KingofOsmane's got his forward native scouts down the sides, and so he... Oh yeah, that's... I was getting confused at whose scout it was. Both the EONlybaus' scout and KingofOsmane's scout is on the right-hand side of the map, checking for possible raids of cavalry moving up and down the coast, where they've both seen... The EONlybaus has seen where the villages are, and KingofOsmane has seen that the EONlybaus' army was moving in that direction, so he prematurely moved his villagers away from the side. Dropping a manor house on the coast there. Not likely to see much ships being sent, so it's quite safe there. KingofOsmane pushing out with a sizable mass of military units of 23 veteran musketeers, as well as shipping 2 falconets behind us. It's not often you see the British player up in age before the EONlybaus, where the EONlybaus today delayed colonial age play with the 2 axes on the side. However, I'm not too sure he accomplished much there. He, in terms of units lost, he's only picked out he has picked out 5 settlers, but the British still has the economic lead at this point, as well as the tech advantage, the momentum, the military mass, 57 to 30, and if he can see this and starts cutting off his army with his ranged infantry, his musketeers and his falconets, he can get a decent trade here. Oh no, EONlybaus is walking towards the ranged infantry. Longbows stopped, taking shots now. High rate of fire, long range. They can do some good damage here. Musketeers moving in from behind. Falconets unpacking. However, EONlybaus is possibly out of range. He's stopping to fight. Staying for the bait of the villagers, but the falconets are still slightly out of range. That is unlucky there from KingofOsmane, that he was unable there to get any falconet shots. I'm sure the EONlybaus has seen that there are falconets on the field, and so may want to send falconets himself. 6 skirmishers have been trained from the 2 Raxes as opening gambit from the EONlybaus, and I'm interested to see what his first Fortress Age shipment is, because he's under pressure already. A large contingent of infantry and falconets. Surely the falconets will be the safe option for the EONlybaus as well. Yes, the falconets have come in. I wonder if we're going to see any veterancy upgrades being researched for the musketeers. We got a large batch of 5 cuirassiers on the field, but they're currently out of the order. Is we hide them late to be shown late in the battle? Musketeers moving forwards, shooting down the falconets, however, not doing too much damage. Oh, that's a large volley there. 4 musketeers going down to a single shot for the falconets. Oh, that extra range from the line of sight of the TC houses. KingofOsmane would not be happy with that shot coming in. And the EONlybaus, he must have jacked up his falconets. He's got some long range on these. These are taking some very good shots. KingofOsmane retreating with his falconets still in the unpacked mode. Slow speed, but he is waiting to turn around and take a quick shot if he ever needs to. Cuirassiers are leading the army out of the base, and I'm not too sure why the EONlybaus wants to push out. He feels like he's slightly down momentum, but actually the falconets trade off each other. But previous HP being reduced on one of the falconets for the British player meant that he'd be picked off by the skirmishers, and currently we have 1 falconet with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cuirassiers are still on the field. All of them are high HP. This is where the bulk of his army is now, instead of the military mash of the 1 HP Minutemen, the colonial age musketeers, the couple of crossbows. This part of the army is quite insignificant. We got 1 falconet on half HP. However, when you have 8 cuirassiers on the field, that is your strong point of the army. And with KingofOsmane shipping 10 longbows behind us at the moment, he has not got much anti-cavalry cover. Only 9 veteran musketeers, 5 dragoons. I'm a bit concerned for KingofOsmane, because I've seen in previous matches how cuirassiers cut through longbow like a hot knife through butter, and with a majority composition of 34 veteran longbows, he needs to change his composition fast and quick before the EONlybaus just right-clicks, Z moves onto the army and starts engaging. Even the longbows are starting to move a little bit forward to try and take opportunistic shots on the infantry, but that's not where the threat of this army lies. Now, 8 dragoons on the field with 5 colonial hussars with no upgrades on, 320 HP. These units are not as strong at the 14-15 minute mark as they would be at the 5 minute mark. and the Onlybaus is putting on a sizable amount of pressure at the front of King of Osmane's base. Unfortunately, there is no eco here, so all the eco from King of Osmane is happily gathering. There's no villagers on the TC, and so the Onlybaus is just taking down houses of the British player. However, King of Osmane is still at 190 villager pop, so he's not run out of housing space anytime soon. This is just buying the British player time to correctly remass and reorganize his army for the correct unit composition to defend this. However, no villagers in the TC means no long shots for free on the Falconet. Falconet down to 77 HP. Hussars want to try and get onto him, being zoned off by the heavy cavalry of the French player. The Cuirassiers have shunned away the Hussars. They couldn't get any damage on. Skirmishers getting good shots on the Dragoons. Dragoon count down to 7. There's only 7 Dragoons as his counter cavalry contingency here, and there's no other units to defend the longbows from the very Cuirassiers. If the Onlybaus is aware of King of Osmane's situation, he should be pushing in while he has the advantage. However, he is taking the TC down while he can with his single Falconet. However, one Falconet does take a while to take that down the TC. It's just allowing King of Osmane the opportunity to remass his anti-cavalry Dragoon count. 12 Cuirassiers still on the field for the Onlybaus, and the next shipment after the 3 Cuirassiers was the 8 Skirmishers. When you have 12 Cuirassiers on the field, be looking to get another cavalry combat in. Dragoons popping in from the side, taking a quick shot on the Falconet, taking down the Falconet, saving the TC at 1800 HP. However, this has sparked a miniature go time for the Onlybaus. The Dragoons are out of position. Cuirassiers on top of the large mass of the King of Osmane's longbows. There are no pikes to defend this. We have about 8-9 Cuirassiers on top of the longbows, and the longbows are just falling down. There's plus 10s everywhere. The Onlybaus is losing his entire military here, even though he does have the veteran upgrade in Musk. He sent 9 musketeers as his next home city shipments. But miraculously, all the Cuirassiers have managed to topple over, with 24 longbows still on the field, with a limited amount of anti-cavalry to keep them in check. 30 skirmishers versus 24 longbows. Although the longbows do well, I think the skirmishers can trade somewhat effectively with the larger numbers on the field. It may be that he had about 9 skirmishers from the 2 barracks idle for most of that fight. So that would be pretty shameful if that was why the Onlybaus couldn't clinically push out that fight. Starting to move to the later side of the Fortress Age, we have King of Osmane's villagers gathering coin out of the safety of the town centre and all the line of sights. We have lots of villagers on the far right of the 2 hunts on the sides. These hunts are being scouted, and the Onlybaus's native scout is in the nearby area. However, he's watching empty space. There's no resources, there's no prospect of villagers there. I don't know if the Onlybaus knows about how many villagers are at risk on the side, but he's choosing to push on the advantage, push his slight military advantage onto the front base of King of Osmane. But like I said, there's no economy here. There's no King of Osmane. If he loses the town centre, it's going to be pretty bad for him. But it's not the end of the world. He can get that repair in if he buys another, chops another couple of 30 to get the half the HP of the town centre to hit that repair button. And he's now moving to the right hand side of the map. He knows that his food villages are exposed on the right side. He's even committed to dropping down an outpost to further defend and solidify his position. The Onlybaus rocking a composition of skirmishers and now transitioned into dragoons. He's got 21 dragoons on the field. He did ship 5 dragoons earlier and cav combat on all that XP he gained from the previous engagement into the King of Osmane's town centre. That's a large mass, but he's also shown it to King of Osmane that at the moment, when you have a large constituent of skirmishers and dragoons, that gives the green light for King of Osmane to further increase his longbow production. How many military production units have he got? So all units. The Onlybaus is his 2 stables as he dropped forwards early point. However, the King of Osmane only has 1 barracks going on. It's not necessarily a raid. I thought it was a raid push on the left-hand side. However, the villagers of the Onlybaus have scouted where the villagers of King of Osmane are gathering. At this point, King of Osmane villagers have to gather outside the safety of his own town centre and risks being pushed on by the French army of the Onlybaus. Dragoons are moving in to initiate the skirmish here, try and pick off a few settlers. The settlers here, they do have their greatcoats on, and even though veteran dragoons do have a negative multiplier versus the villagers, the sheer number of these dragoons can just can one-shot each of these vills. Currently taking shots from the musketeers. Longbowmen's engaging on the skirmishers. This is a good fight for the longbowmen. However, quite a few shots are going on to the Courier des Bois, which they do have a large HP health stats as well as a range resist of 40%. Be much better directing that fire onto the skirmishers. We'll see what's Onlybaus wants to do next as his next play, because the Onlybaus he's moving out on the map. He's got the the momentum behind him. He's training two cuirassiers behind us from 2 barracks, so he has potential to pop out a maximum of 10 at a time, and that would be a large military swing. He's already got about 6 cuirassiers in his army as well. He's just quickly moved his mobile army from the left-hand side of the map, where some villagers are gathering, to the right-hand side, where majority of his food villagers are gathering. He's putting under the 2 outposts under siege, and by checking the outposts here, there is 13 villagers currently under siege in both these towers. The British army is moving in from the west-hand side of the map and about to engage Onlybaus to defend his villages as possible. All 13 are now belled up in this. Longbowmen moving in position, be able to put all these units in range. A frigate from the French player has been shipped. This is going to provide the Onlybaus a safe passage away from the incoming British army, who may have wanted to force the Onlybaus against the coast and could not be able to run any further away from the longbowman mass. KingofOsmane has now seen that the frigate is on the field and is probably actually quite happy with this, because he hasn't got much else on the coast. Yes, he does have some villages which were in the outpost but have moved along, but there are houses, but apart from that, there's not much infrastructure. He doesn't need to send a frigate of his own into the ponds to contest this. He can just say, hey, you've just spent a Fortress Age shipment onto the as a potential escape route, but apart from that, I'm fine with you doing that. Longbowmen meeting skirmishers in the centre of the map, taking a few pot shots, one skirmisher dropping down there, and by checking out the mass of both the skirmishers and longbowmen, we can see that KingofOsmane is outmassing the Onlybaus in the ranged infantry departments with 43 longbowmen and 9 musketeers. Taking down the forward barracks of the Onlybaus, and I'm wondering if the Onlybaus is putting up any extra barracks back at home to continue skirm production if he loses the second one. It appears that he's abandoned in this position. I wonder what he's got in queue then, because he's got 9 cuirassiers in queue. He'd be happy to abandon the barracks if he's not training any skirmishers, and he's looked at this mass thinking there's not too many dragoons, a few hand cav hussars of the British army, but mainly longbowmen. I would like to have a large contingency of cuirassiers with cav combat on as well. Remember, these are strong units, and when you have 23 cuirassiers with a military population of 131, this is go time for Onlybaus. He has got a large batch of units. He's invested a lot of resources into this. He's going to engage it front on. Cavalry line of KingofOsmane drops all the hand cavalry. Dragoons are still at the back in the safety. However, they're not blocking the cavalry units onto the longbowmen. The longbowmen are pretty packed up in a tight bunch. They're taking a lot of splash damage here from the cuirassiers. And taps GG. KingofOsmane resigns there. The French player's heavy cavalry just pushes in onto the undefended longbow mass there and takes out the large mass of longbows. Remembering that KingofOsmane started that fight off with at least 43 longbowmen in the front line of the fight, and currently at this point, after the game is finished, there's only about 8-9 remaining with the French army barely touched. You see, he went from his 131 down to 100 military population, where the military population of KingofOsmane just crumbled at that point. That was a really good, close game to open up the series there, 23 minutes long. Judging by the villager count graph, although the Onlybaus's French villagers are stronger villagers, so this eco discrepancy is not all that it seems. You can see that while KingofOsmane was going for a relatively fast age up to the 3rd age for a British player, he did lose a couple of villagers, and before the Fortress Age, he had lost 5, if I counted. So there's 1, 2 there. 2 have gone down here, and possibly 1 while 1 went down at the same time as a villager being trained somewhere else. So went to the fortress age with not much momentum, slightly lower economic potential, however, managed to stabilise and actually grabs the initiative by upgrading his musketeers to veterancy and training the ship in the falconets in the home city. Military population. You see early age 3 with the falconets, the musketeers and the veteran musketeers. He pushed out his advantage why he had it, and was for a while in the French's base it kind of looked a bit hairy, a bit touch and go, but once the theonlybaus managed to get his own fortress units out and about, managed to take up some map patrol and eventually start to secure his lead by making large batches of cuirassiers which the longbowmen couldn't handle, and there were no pikemen present to fend off the cavalry of the French player. Right, GG guys, we'll hop into game number 2. Whew. Got the Castet fan room. Well, Castet's not even playing at the moment, so we've got a fan room ready to go for a player who's not even playing. But to be fair, he was present in the last series, and the time of this game lobby has been up to nearly 2 hours, so these guys are just probably sticking around in the chat while sticking around on ESOC and watching this current series between theonlybaus and KingofOsmane move into game number 2. The players have joined into the lobby. I'm going to see what civilization the theonlybaus is going to pick into game 2 here. Currently sat in the lobby for game 2, where the theonlybaus is to pick the next civilization to be played on Arkansas, and the theonlybaus has gone straight in for the Ottoman civilization and has said locked for this. It may be that he has played and got a certain strategy in mind for this map, however, he can't pre-predict too much of what KingofOsmane is going to reply for this. I know that KingofOsmane's main civilization is the Japanese, and this is a very good map for the Japanese civilization, with lots of hunt on the top sides of the map past the riverbeds there. So KingofOsmane may want to go for the Japanese civilization, but may not want to save it for a more safer matchup where he may not have to face a double Rex Jan rush. The theonlybaus is currently PR level 34, Lieutenant Colonel, against a KingofOsmane who's now up to Brigadier 39. I thought KingofOsmane was a Colonel recently. I recently checked his online 1v1 records, and it was about 3 pages of Japanese 1v1s. So I'm a bit cautious if KingofOsmane has a decent civ pool to use from. I'll check if Osmane's in the lobby. Sound mixers to go this. KingofOsmane is currently thinking he's doesn't want to rush into Ottoman civilization where he's at risk of being rushed from the Ottomans, and this is possibly why he's gone and locked in as the French civilization instead of going for his trusted Japanese, possibly saving it for a map to be used later on in the series. Looks like KingofOsmane is very happy with his civilization, has readies in, only bounces ready to play this game, and we're going to hop into game number 2 here in this series. Oh, come on, guys. I was getting excited then. Yeah, it's clicked in here now. Quite a short map this is, so the rush distance is quite short. TP's on the south. Well, welcome back, guys. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the second game between theonlybaus and KingofOsmane for the Pro Division qualifier round in the ESOC Winter 2020 tournament. Currently the score is 1-0 to theonlybaus, where theonlybaus has picked to play as the Ottoman civilization in this match. Currently, we have the Ottoman of the theonlybaus spawning the left-hand side of the map in the colour red, with KingofOsmane taking the French civilization this time on the right-hand side. It was a wood start, so the French player is going to immediately go down to the bottom of the map to drop down a trading post, which, although will provide him more experience, in this matchup may also deny the Ottoman player the opportunity to capture all 3 trading posts early in the game. KingofOsmane's native scout has gone out to scout out where the theonlybaus is, and particularly which trading post that explorer is at, and he's found that he's at the middle one, getting some early damage in. I'm sure it won't be doing too much, and the Ottoman explorer can turn around to ward off the native scout, but will be very aware that behind the native scout, the explorer will be following quickly in line. This is risky from the theonlybaus. He knows that the scout is in the area. He knows that KingofOsmane has eyes on what theonlybaus is doing. And so by engaging the wolf there just to take 40 wood, if he's going to pick it up first, yeah, he's going to pick it up. But he has just been snared by the French explorer, and he may be giving up his explorer at this point in this early stage of the map. It's only been 1 minute 30. He's only made a dart line to the centre TP and has to turn around and go straight back to his home to protect his explorer. But apart from that, he knows nothing else of the map. He might not even scouted at least this back hunt here. Mines. Central, 2. Yeah, I'm happy with the map there. The Ottoman explorer gets back to the safety of his town centre quite quickly and is now moving back out onto the map with 180 HP. KingofOsmane appears to have seen this with his native scouts while chasing the theonlybaus explorers back to the base, and it's going to be a role reversal this time, with KingofOsmane actually engaged in the treasure and being attacked from behind from the other person's explorer. KingofOsmane is aware that the theonlybaus may have his crack shots up and ready, so he's in position to take the treasure if he needs to. Is the theonlybaus going to snipe this quite quickly and down? Yep, I can't see. KingofOsmane's down his knees to pick it up, and yes, the theonlybaus has picked up. He's stolen 100 food. This is large. This is a huge swing. The theonlybaus has just queued in his age up there straight away, possibly not needing the food there, but by denying KingofOsmane the food, he can ensure that KingofOsmane is not going to age up with like a 13 vil age up and cheese the Ottoman with an early age up and possibly early military shipments there. KingofOsmane must be annoyed with that. He's moving away from the side, but he's also, I think, Osmane is aware that the theonlybaus is now in transition to age 2, and so he might be starting to walk down to the bottom left of the map where the theonlybaus' explorer, it will be soon to be putting down his second trading post when he gets to the colonial age. The Ottoman player is going up with the quartermaster. The Ottoman players can usually go up with either the quartermaster or the governor for the outpost and 200 coin, but is elected to age up with the 400 wood, and KingofOsmane is walking towards the explorer. He's also seen the settlers of the theonlybaus move forward. We've got 2 settlers moving forward, and you only need 1 settler to build 1 barracks, so 2 settlers can provide him a great opportunity to build 2 barracks right off the bat fairly quickly. But I'm not too sure if Yeah, he should be able to fund this because he's chopped for the trade post in transition. He currently has 0 wood available for his barracks. However, on age up with the quartermaster, that provide 400 wood on the ground for him to instantly throw down 2 military production buildings in the center of the map. This could be 2 barracks. This could be a barracks and a house. I would assume he's going to be sending 700 wood as his next shipment to get some house production down as well. Maybe a market, or maybe go for a 3rd military production. But we've gone a barracks straight away. He's gathering up to 160, 180, 200 wood. Is he going to go down with a second one soon after? Looks like he's committed to building the first barracks now, and we'll see how the King of Osmane is going to react to this barracks in the middle of the map. King of Osmane's just aged up to the 2nd age, 400 wood on the floor, currently researching placer mines, but also he hasn't got enough resources to go for steel traps as well, but he may be aware that if the theonlybaus is to be playing on the more aggressive front, he may not have enough resources for steel traps. Okay, he's getting steel traps, but he's not. He needs to chop some more wood to get a house, or maybe he's going to buy his next house as well. So he's only got 99. He's fully popped. He needs to chop 1 wood to build 1 house, and then maybe buy the next 100 wood to get 2 houses to get that breathing space to train some units out. Barracks and a stable being dropped down for the Ottoman player. 5 Janissaries out on the map, about to put some pressure onto the King of Osmane's trading post he put down in age 1. And so, although this trading post is about to pick some more XP up from this travois, what this has done is has delayed the theonlybaus's opportunity to get full control of this trading post line, and probably has delayed his decision to research Stagecoach on this TP as well. The Ottoman Explorer will soon be up when he gets 100, and yep, there he goes, got up, and he's ready to go. Stagecoach has been researched in for the Ottoman player, and he's committing to taking down the trading post, capturing his own, and probably defending it with Janissaries and Hussars. And let's see what else he's got on the queue. 700 coin has been received for the Ottoman player, and so it's be interesting to see if how many Hussars he can get out in his next batch. Back in Osmane's base, in-base barracks, 5 musketeers, quite standard for a defensive-minded play. He currently has another 5 in batch, some villagers on the coin, maybe looking to send 700 coin and predominantly gather foods to get to the next age up. But he is dropping down a stable as well off of the 700 wood he did receive there. So maybe this is just in preparation for age 3. Maybe he's doing Hussars in the 2nd age. We'll have to find out. 1 Hussar's currently in queue for the theonlybaus, but he has not got a house ready to go. There's a house built up right here. 2 villagers. That's usually a sign of urgency that he's got a batch nearly about to pop out, and he wants to squeeze in an extra couple of cav coming out. He can afford 2, 3, 4. 4 Hussars about to be produced. He may have stopped building some Janissaries to ensure that he's going to get a 5 batch of Hussars out. And once that comes out, this is his opportunity to put on some pressure. King of Osmane is turtling in his base. He's built 10 musketeers, and he's committed to the age 3 play off the 700 coin. But how many musketeers he's got? He's gone for 15 musketeers. This is a large amount of musketeers and a lot of food to invest into musketeer production. But as a result, he is quite short on food to click up. So if he has only 10 musketeers, he would have had 1,200 food, enough resources to start the age up, where he would still be defending this with 10 musketeers, minutemen, possibly if he gathered a little bit extra. But at the moment, he's still in age 2 and not advancing up. He's gone for the fortress agenda. However, he has not got that going and any longer this delay will just severely cripple the French player and his momentum going into the 3rd age. That's if he can get that queue up going. 8 Hussars raiding from the left hand side of the map. All the CDB retreating to the outpost, and even the defensive outpost. So even after building a defensive outpost, King of Osmane felt the need to train 15 musketeers. I'm not too sure I could agree with this play. However, he's very easily reflecting all these military aggression of the Ottoman player. I'm not too sure the Ottoman player actually wants to commit under a town centre, an outpost, 15 musks, 6 minutemen. and is probably just content of sitting outside with his 3 TP stagecoach control. He's just lost another Hussar there to the Musketeer mass, and he is taking down houses at the moment, which KingofOsmane is currently housed with no easy way to get another house, because he hasn't got enough coin to buy a house, or he may have just sold and bought one there. He's got a house being thrown up at the back very quickly as an emergency measure. I wonder if he can actually get a cheeky repair off on his house to make it survive that little bit longer. Hussars moving on the left hand side. CDBs again having to move away from these deer back into the outpost and town centre. KingofOsmane managed to squeeze in that age up where I believe a shipment is on the way, because he had that trading post down at the south going on for quite a while, and may have got the extra XP from the stagecoach research as well to aid him in his Fortress Age shipment. Looking at his deck, he's got all the cards you normally expect. No mercenaries, but apart from that, looking very standard. And with a solid musketeer mass, he's not scared of the cavalry. And what can counter the Janissaries is either the 8 skirmishers or a 2 falconets shipments. If he's going for the falconets, I would like to see veteran musketeers being upgraded to, well, musketeers being upgraded to veteran, because he does have 18. I wonder if the text being researched, if he has. Well, he's not researching veteran musketeers at the moment, because he barely had enough wood to throw up the houses. He was stuck on 50-50 population for a while, and so he hasn't got enough wood to get the upgrades in. And yeah, he just bought another 100 wood there from the market. So this is getting an expensive trade for KingofOsmane, which he also may not fully have thought about or considered. But each time you buy wood, you're just depleting your coin mines even further and having to risk going out further onto the map. That's a bit earlier into the matchup. Silk Road was sent for KingofOsmane, which will increase the resources returns from the stagecoach by about 30 or 40%, if I'm not mistaken. However, he has already sent 3 sets of crates into the second age, and so you would only really get that large benefit that Silk Road brings if you send crate shipments as well. So I'll be interested to see if theonlybaus is going to be sending. Well, the only crate he can really send now is 700 food, because he already sent the 2 coin crates. If I was checking theonlybaus, yeah, he's only got the 700 food remaining, the 600 wood, but he doesn't necessarily need the wood now if he's got stagecoach bringing in a wood income there. Pushed into the base with Abus guns and Janissaries. An RC Foundry was dropped down recently, and we currently have 6 Abus guns on the field. All the Hussars have been taken out by KingofOsmane, and so theonlybaus is having to rely with a colonial Janissary Abus gun. However, if the theonlybaus is not following up to the Fortress Age at a certain point, I'm worried that the KingofOsmane's skirmisher mass will soon outrange, pick off the Abus guns, and if the Abus guns falls, it's just second age Janissaries, which are not going to stand up too well and trade well to the skirmishers. Yeah, we've even seen Janissaries sacrificing their lives to the Ottoman cause by running and charging into the skirmisher line to stop them from advancing any further. Good micro from theonlybaus, though. He does have his artillery and infantry split up into 2 different groups, where he's got the Abus guns on the front line to try and get any extra pot shots while he can, and if he sees any danger coming in, he can retreat behind his Janissary line for protection, with the Janissaries acting as a meat shield, anti-cavalry, and just generic all-round DPS. It looks like KingofOsmane has a shipment on the way. His experience bar is quite low, so he's expecting the shipment to pop out very soon. And this could be 3 cuirassiers. It could also be 7 skirms or 2 falconets. Either of these shipments, I think, would be very useful at this point. And KingofOsmane just needs to maintain this economic lead, even though theonlybaus does have a 3 TP stagecoach, with only 27 villagers behind this. With the KingofOsmane having a recalculated population of 40, he's still enjoying a economic lead slightly, but having a tech advantage and a military lead of 63 to 52. 7 skirmishers were shipped and has a mass of 31 skirmishers against 28 Janissaries and 12 Abus guns of the theonlybaus. I think KingofOsmane will be happy to push out there, and he is advancing forward. He might not know precisely where the army is, but he's going to start to force the engagement and fight on his terms in the middle of the map where he can possibly use his cavalry if he trains any extra cavalry later on to come around and snare from behind. Looking at units in queue, we have more dragoons being sent, and dragoons are a very good unit to use against the Ottoman. The Ottoman Abus guns are a low count at the moment, and they're going to be continuously focused and picked off by the ranged infantry of the French player. That once a mass of dragoons is going on, it'll be very hard for the Ottoman player to actually deal with this moving forward. KingofOsmane at the moment appears to be very content with taking trades of both the players. They're both taking a few bits of shots and then walk in, waiting for that reload animation to go around. And theonlybaus is queuing up Hussars and Abus guns now. He stops his Janissary production. He has 1,300 food in the bank, 300 coin, but he's already used his coin shipments. There's no way he can get to the Fortress Age with that. And if he's training mass Abus guns, he's going to need a lot more coin than he has currently. I assume that all his stage scriptures are currently on coin being produced. Dragoons moving in, taking a shot onto the Hussars, where an Abus gun gets a volume to the Dragoons. But now that all the Musketeers have dwindled away, we now have a pure skirm Dragoon mass of the French player. 33 skirmishers currently on the field, and there's only 14 Abus guns. If KingofOsmane can keep this Abus gun count below 20, he'll be very happy about that. He's currently sat on top of the artillery foundry, so if the theonlybaus wants extra Abus guns, he will need to defend the artillery foundry and defend the Abus guns popping out from the artillery foundry as well. And so being on top of the enemy's production facility is also dangerous, but is also potentially very rewarding if you can pick off reinforcements very quickly. 3 cuirassiers have been shipped for the French player. These 3 heavy cavalry, which did a lot of work last matchup, is moving in. Hussars moving in to snare the skirmishers. We do have 5 Hussars still on the field, but there's 17 dragoons. We can easily pick off the Hussars here. They're only age 2 of no upgrades. 3 cuirassiers right on top of the Abus guns. The Abus guns are walking around and not firing. The skirmishers and dragoons are taking pot shots on the Ottoman army. The 3 cuirassiers are still alive, decent HP, and that is it. The theonlybaus has resigned for this one. That is 1-all to end up the game number 2 there. KingofOsmane is winning game number 2 as a French civilization. The theonlybaus has a sound bug. Maybe he needs to restart his game and come back into the match once his system is all set up. So he'll be doing that. We'll be seeing him in a bit. I think this match, one comment I would like to make would be a very defensive position from KingofOsmane in the second age, with a outpost, 15 musketeers produced, and once he sent the 700 coin, he was sat with a bank of about 500, 600 food and 1,000 coin, and so he didn't have enough resources at that point to squeeze in that age up and get that going, and so had to essentially ward off the Ottoman units with his mass of musketeers. He called Minutemen to help with that, which meant he needed to gather even more gold and even more food. And so once he got the age up going, it was good to get the age up going, but it was always going to be so delayed with that pressure from the Ottoman. But once the French player got up, the higher tech units came out, managed to keep the Abus gun count low, or the Abus gun production came in quite late, and never actually felt really troubled. He didn't send the 2 falconets at any point in this match, maybe because he's a bit worried that the Abus guns could have easily poked them off, but the 8 skirm, the 7 skirm, that helped to get this ranged infantry mass, which the theonlybaus couldn't really contest, with predominantly Janissaries and a few Abus guns coming into the fray later on in the game. Yeah, looking at the military population here, we can see that, yes, we had 15 musketeers from the French player, 6 Minutemen being called, and once these 6 infantry units were on the field, the theonlybaus was trickling a few units to keep the French player belled up, but actually didn't take out any of the military. So the KingofOsmane managed to age up with his colonial army intact, which helped him stabilize, so he can send out his 5 dragoons first shipment, train some skirms, and send out 8 skirm, 7 skirm. And once he started to get the military advantage with the tech advantage as well, he's picking up units left, right, and centre, taking good trades. This is a good trade for King of Osmane. I think this was in the centre of the map, and then when he pushed towards the artillery foundry later on, the Hussars committed but fell down very quickly to the Dragoons. The Cuirassiers came in to tank a lot and engage onto the Abus guns. The Japanese had to move around. The Ottoman army was moving quite a bit and was not firing, and then just the French Dragoons and skirmishers were just taking pot shots, and that was the end of that game there. Well played by Osmane, actually. For a 1 Civ player, that was a very good execution of a musketeer semi-FF into then a skirm goon play, and I think actually won with relative ease towards the middle. I think once King of Osmane stabilised, I think he was very confident with his position moving forward. Right, I'm going to hop into the next game. And they're ready. They're ready for me. That's all good. That's not good. Lost connection to ESOC. Connection to ESO. Hopefully ESO's not down. That'd be quite annoying. Failed to connect to ESO servers. Ah, come on. What a time for this to happen. Maybe it's only about pulling the internet cord of the Ensemble Studios online server. Fuck's sake. Well, I guess we'll just have to keep waiting until ESO comes back online. It's usually never offline for that long. Hopefully it won't be long enough, but it's offline for me to go off, try and download Game Ranger and set that up on the Game Ranger site. I'm not too sure the players are ready for that either, and if that is the case, we may have to do something else. But currently failed to connect to ESO servers, and there may be a slight delay into the next game. And so, if you're that at home, maybe quick toilet break, quick food break, stretch your legs, come back in 10 minutes, and I think we should be good to go afterwards. Here we go, guys. I think we're back into the ESO lobby here. Let's just sign in. Yeah, you can just see lots of ones and ones and ones. Everybody was out of ESO, have just jumped back in, and everyone's hosting their own game, but realising maybe the players they need for their own game is actually in other people's games already. King of Osmane and theonlybaus are both online, so I'm expecting them to ready up a lobby soon. Yep, they've got the lobby going on. theonlybaus made a comment of it's a battle of who plays worse. I don't think that's true. I think both these players are of a high standard, and I haven't seen anything here to suggest that either player is playing bad. But if, let's say, King of Osmane picks his favourite civilization, the Japanese, and really shows us why he is a Brigadier level 39, then maybe that statement may be true if we look back on it at a later point. But for the time being, King of Osmane has won that last match, so he'd be able to pick first, and he does have the opportunity to pick Japanese on his map, which, again, it's a middle-sized map. I don't think it's not a bad Japanese map, because you got hunts on the top, the bottom, protected by a cliff, so it'd be quite awkward for players to move units on the edges of the map to try and take down the shrines. However, it's not as open as like Florida. It's not as well hunt spawned map as Arkansas. It's not like we're playing on Kamchatka. It's a very wide, open map with hunts in the very far reaches of the left-hand side of the map, and so it'd be interesting to see what KingofOsmane plays. He's already won with the French civilization, and so he's unable to pick French, but he can play the British as he did in game 1, which he did lose with. Maybe not the best Brit map, those. KingofOsmane's asking, what's the map after this one? Manchak's not a great map for Japan because the swamp may house quite a few hunts, but you can't build shrines in the swamp, so he may be earmarking that as not a great Japanese map. Hudson Bay is a pretty decent Japanese map. You do have access to water for the fishing boats. You can lay down a wall to section off your base from the front. It's not as wide open as, let's say, High Plains is. Although that's not in the map pool today, but it's potential. Either that, or he may have to use Japanese in Colorado. So I can, if there's betting going on, and one of the bets is what's the likelihood of KingofOsmane playing Japanese this series, I imagine the returns on it are not great. Everybody would bet that. I'm sure somebody answered your chat before you get to me, but the scores are 1-1 at the moment. The KingofOsmane has selected Ottoman as his civilization. He's locked that in, and now it's on the theonlybaus to think of whether he's going to change his civilization from Ottoman and play as he did last game and mirror the KingofOsmane, or actually use this opportunity to counterpick Ottoman. I'm unsure what the theonlybaus's majority main civs are. I'm not that aware of top players' civilizations, but it looks like we've seen high home city levels from London, from the British. We've seen high level cities with French. It looks like he's decent experience with the Japanese here and Germans. Maybe not the other Asian civilizations of Chinese or the Indians. Could go Sioux. I've heard Sioux's a decent matchup versus the Ottomans recently. Maybe Russia. I'm not too convinced by the Russians, but if you drop a blockhouse in the centre of the map, you do zone off the majority of the map, and so you can get control over it that way. We'll have to find out what the theonlybaus is going to pick as a counter pick for the Ottoman, but for the time being, the theonlybaus is going to take some time off to think about what he's going to bring into game number 3 on Colorado. Looks like the theonlybaus has selected the Dutch in this point. He hasn't confirmed yet if he's going to be playing Dutch or not. He has. He's pressed and ready in. KingofOsmane was ready. Clicked half a second later. He was on it straight away. He's happy with this matchup. It looks like it's going to be the Dutch versus the Ottoman civilization for game number 3. Maybe KingofOsmane's checking decks at the moment. Oh, I've just read it out. Is the game going to start? 2, 1, and let's jump into game number 3. Here we go, guys. We're back into game number 3 between KingofOsmane and the theonlybaus. This is the qualifier round of the Pro Division ESOC Winter 2020 Game 3, and it's currently 1-1 between KingofOsmane and theonlybaus. KingofOsmane is using the Ottoman civilization this time on the left-hand side of the map in the colour green, his favourite colour, with theonlybaus playing as the Dutch in the colour blue, spawning on the right-hand side of the map. I must have missed what crate spawn. Looks like there's only one wood crate spawn for the Dutch, one food crate spawn for the Dutch, so possibly just a single coin. Could be a coin start. He's already got 130 for 11 villagers. Coin crate on the ground for KingofOsmane. So yeah, this was a singular coin start, or maybe coin and food. KingofOsmane dropping down an early trading post in his side of the map, and is about to get an early pass from the Travar. He must be aware that this is probably the Travar trading post which give you the earliest XP income instead of going for the safer trading post at the back, but likely being the Ottomans, he'll go for multiple trading posts, and so that'll come later. He's also scouted a 95 wood treasure guarded by 2 grizzlies. Crackshot goes on to one of them, and he's fighting the other bear mano to mano. Will he win? Yes, he's going to win, but he does sacrifice 190 HP to take down a grizzly bear. If he sees another grizzly treasure like this, he can commit to taking it down with his remaining HP. However, if the Dutch envoy or the Dutch explorer is nearby at any point, they can just come in, punch the explorer a few times and bring him down. So KingofOsmane has to be careful of what treasures he's going to start if he's to go out on the map any further with his explorer. The theonlybaus mining enough coin to get the 12th settler in queue, ship 3 settlers to get the 15, and age up off of 15 settlers. Standard amount of settlers for the Dutch civilization, and be interesting to see what the treasures the theonlybaus have got. He's got 90 food, which has helped his age up, not so much. Likely to get 800 food before the 15th. Well, he's still on 10 villagers. So he's still got to. This 11th has just trained, and he's still got 1 more to train while before the age up starts. However, that will help get his bank up earlier. He's also got 30 coin, which have helped his early chopping of the early mine of the coin mine, as well as 40 wood, which does help the bank being built faster as well. So good treasures for the theonlybaus for his own civilization. But KingofOsmane has picked up the biggest treasure so far of 95 wood. The Dutch explorer has just picked up the Nuka Clubman and will be joining the Dutch's fight against the Ottoman Empire. The Nuka Clubman does have a large siege damage for being a hand infantry unit. Unfortunately, it has been siege damage against heroes. That's just generic text. The siege damage of the Nuka Clubman is still 30 siege per swing, even in the age 1, and so can be used to put some pressure onto the original trading post built by the Ottoman explorer, or stands on the top explorer and possibly deny the trading post. This could have been done. The Dutch envoy did scout that the trading post of KingofOsmane was built in the centre of the map here, and so if the theonlybaus is really thinking hard about where the second trading post would go, this would be the most likely option and destination. So if the Nuka was sat on top of the trading post here, could have denied that trading post being built for a little bit longer. Currently, the theonlybaus has 430 food and just managed to get the 350 woods needed there. A slight miss macro there, because once he ages up, he's got no coin in the bank. He's got no villager being queued, and so all this food, like the 180 food currently right now, is not being used to train the settler. He's gonna age up, and he's gonna press the Townsend hotkey, Trainville hotkey, and it's just gonna say can't do it, haven't got the resources, and he's gonna panic at the moment. He's got no coin villagers going. He's not got a villager in queue. When is the penny gonna drop? He can't just rely on a bank to get that villager going. Oh no, it looks like he does have the 16 villager. He has got 1 villager. Is that the Nuka? Yeah, Nuka doesn't cost population. Looks like he's safe there with 1 will being researched. Let's just check to confirm that he has got a unit in queue. No, he's only got the bank. He's only just got the villager in queue there. So how many villagers he's actually got so far? 16. It must be that it had just spawned at that point while I was checking. The Ottoman civilization dropping a barracks mid-map again. Just like in the previous match when the theonlybaus was playing the Ottoman, a barracks were dropped mid-map to defend the trading post that the Ottoman player has gone. And it was also gone for a stable as well, so a very similar build to last map. We're going for a Janissary Hussar opening. 5 Janissaries produced by the barracks there, with the shipments being sent so far for both players, 700 wood, and then KingofOsmane squeezing in 700 coin to fund military production off of it. 5 Janissaries are moving across the map into the Dutch base. Fairly confident that Dutch will not have any military units at this point, but will be producing a barracks off the 700 wood, and so has got himself a small timing window just to do some sort of disruption and maybe force a bank wagon at the front. He's going at the back. That's fine. You would not want to lose a bank wagon to 5 Janissaries. That would be a disaster opening for the Dutch player. The Dutch is a very unique European civilization, given that they have early access to skirmishers in Age 2, and I'm sure this will be the unit of choice for the Dutch player of a skirmisher to challenge the Janissary mass of the Ottoman player. However, KingofOsmane has predicted this and pre-thought this and has already got a stable down with 5 Janissaries and 5 Hussars in queue off of the 700 gold, 700 food shipment, and I believe, yeah, he's already eaten up that food shipment as it was. It did come in about 30 seconds ago, and so a large batch of military units. We've got 15 Janissaries on the field, 5 Hussars. This is a power spike for KingofOsmane. He sent 3 Hussars as well. He's swelled, his military mass is swollen up due to the increased resources gathered from the crates that he shipped, and is pushing into the Dutch base. And oh no, why are you moving out with skirmishers? Don't do that. No, you need to go back into the safety of your town centre. But there's no wall on the front. There's no buildings on the front. It's an open gateway into the base of the theonlybaus. All the banks on the back to defend it. Minutemen's been called. However, there's no pikemen. There's no anti-cavalry to defend the skirmishers from the hussars. There's a few villagers going down. But he's identified he needs to move on to the skirmishers. 3 more skirmishers made at the back of the barracks. He needs to individually select like a small group of hussars. Yes, he's got 4 on this batch of skirmishers, 4 on this batch of skirmishers, and the pikemen have just been sent. However, he has sacrificed his entire contingency of skirmishers to the hussar mass already. Looking at units lost, although the pressure is still on here, Minutemen being dropped down due to low HP, and it's just Janissaries versus pikemen. The pikemen can't engage with the heavy infantry here. They're only good versus the cavalry, but they've got nothing to protect. 7 skirmishers have already gone down for the theonlybaus. KingofOsmane has lost 1 hussar, 7 Janissaries, but he has idled the theonlybaus for so long, and also taken out 6 Minutemen, pikemen as well. So this has been a very good trade for the KingofOsmane so far. Pikemen are at the top of the town, just waiting around to see what they can do. But I'm unsure what the theonlybaus' next play is. He does have colonial militia, but he doesn't have 3 hussars. He has no extra military shipments, and so if he wants to defend this further, he needs to send colonial militia. Pikemen being onto the cavalry units there. Skirmishers managing to survive and not being picked off by the hussars. However, needing to use some of the settlers to body block as well. 600 wood being shipped. That's not going to help the situation at the moment. That is not helping the theonlybaus' situation. He's got 700 food, 800 coin. If he had colonial militia, he could call the large batch of colonial militia and snare with the pikemen and clean this up, or at least do significant damage to this army. But no, the pikemen have gone down. The skirmishers are unprotected. 600 wood is on the floor, not doing much at the moment. And KingofOsmane is following this up with 600 coins to further invest production. Has he got onto the archery foundry yet? No, he's still focusing on Janissaries and hussars production, which is absolutely fine. 5 more hussars coming from the top. And did you see this? He passed around from the top angle here just to check if any of the villagers had been snuck out of the base. But I can tell you, he's got 11 villagers in the town centre, with 4 gathering the woods, 1 settler going for a bit of walk at the top, and all his settlers is here currently. He hasn't even got a market to be able to buy the wood to get up to the next age. He needs to sneak off of. Yes, there he is, the hero villager, dropping the market away from the town. Buy the food required to age up to the 3rd age. Drop a stable up here as well to train some raiders in the 3rd age. That is if the Dutch player can hang on and survive for this long. 9 Hussars and 9 Janissaries are currently in the base. Hussars haven't got the greatest siege attack, only 20 siege, and for a unit which costs 200 resources, they're not very siege efficient. However, the Janissaries, which cost a lot less resources, only 115, have 25 siege and are doing a decent amount of damage to the town centre. The age up is queued, the fast age has been used, he's aging up quite fast. He has a shipment available to be used, and we have to find out what his first age 3 shipment is going to be, and I would very much like to guess it's going to be the 9 Reuter shipment. Oh my, he has seen that the market was here, he's looking around for a veil. However, the theonlybaus has dropped a stable in the furthest corner of the map that is as far away from his own town centre as he can. However, I think he realises that there's too much mass in his town centre as it is, and he's resigned just as the age 3 came in, but he's aware that he won't have enough time to ship 9 Reuters before the town centre goes down. He's got no Minutemen to defend. All his pikemen were taken out early, and they weren't like hid in the corner to come back later. Skirmishers were taken out for rather easily by the Ottoman cav as well, and that although there's a stable coming up in the corner, if you're losing your town centre, you lose all your 16 vills in there. They become very easy to kill, and with all this cavalry nearby, with the town centre being taken down before 9 Reuters available, all of the villagers would drop and would have signalled the end of the game at that point anyway. So the theonlybaus there tapping out as soon as he reaches the fortress age. The score is currently 2-1 to KingofOsmane. I think we just mainly talked about how here the theonlybaus had military production of the barracks and trained a few skirmishers. However, some of the skirmishers went outside the safety of the base. There wasn't much of a wall in efforts to fend off the Ottoman units away from the base. Even a little wall segment just in between this tree here and the house could have helped. A very late market. A market wasn't dropped down on the 700 wood, so there's usually a 700 wood. You want to go for 1 bank, 1 barracks, 1 house, and then you have like 50 wood remaining, which you could use. Barracks, 2 barracks, market, bank. Yeah, barracks, market, and bank. With the market, you might have to buy some wood for some extra houses if need be. However, that market never came down, which delayed him buying the food to get that age up in queue. Well, good game there. I'm going to hop out into the lobby for game number 4. We just joined the lobby with the players chatting. Because I'm with you on this one. I can only see the somehow. Maybe KingofOsmane is wondering how he managed to clinch that victory there. But I'm sure he won't mind either way. The score is currently 2-1, and at this point it's on match point for KingofOsmane. He only needs this one final victory in Hudson Bay, and it's KingofOsmane to pick, and I would have to guess it's going to be the Japanese civilization. Yeah, Kai's makes a great point in the chat from the last game that realistically, if the theonlybaus wanted to defend that one very clearly, he needed to pop the Minutemen with the pikemen, or if that wasn't the case, run with the pikemen and then pop the Minutemen with a batch of skirmishers being produced. But due to positioning, the skirmishers were on the south and to the right of the TC, the pikemen were off somewhere else, and then just the skirmishers came down fairly easy there and just couldn't go. KingofOsmane has picked the Japanese. This is the biggest news story of 2020 so far. I can announce live from the scene that KingofOsmane has locked in as Japanese as his favourite civilization on Hudson Bay. theonlybaus has quickly counterpicked with the Russian civilization, and we have seen previously in the tournament so far that we have seen Japan be defeated by Russia. However, Daruga famously in the New World Championships did win this matchup as the Japanese civilization on a no TP map. Let's hop into game number 4 then. Oh, Hazarov, nah, can't say resign and just say I suck. It must be super tense for all the players in this situation, so I'm not expecting perfect, optimal play. However, I'm looking forward to see what KingofOsmane can bring to the table with his Japanese play here. He must have also played this matchup here countless numbers of times. Russia's a usual favourite counter pick for this civilization, and so anytime he maybe greens up in the lobby in the Japanese, I wouldn't be surprised if the other opponent also picks the Russians to counterwards. Well, what is up, guys? My name is Harrison. We are jumping into game number 4 here of the Pro Division qualifier match of the ESOC Winter Tourney 2020 between KingofOsmane and theonlybaus. KingofOsmane is currently on match point at the moment. It's 2-1 to KingofOsmane, and he's taken his favourite civilization, the Japanese, into the final game of, well, possibly the final game of this series. That's if KingofOsmane can clinch the victory. However, trying his very best to prevent KingofOsmane taking his final victory is theonlybaus, spawning on the right hand side of the map in the colour blue, playing as the Russian civilizations, a very common counter pick to the Japanese, and we'll be interested to see how this match plays out. Coin start for both civilizations, which is not going to be very useful for either civilizations. We've got a constant being dropped down by the Japanese player, and this is a standard build, and possibly expecting a heavily cami to be shipped as a first card behind KingofOsmane if he's going for a consulate agenda. Picked up a 40 wood in base with the cherry orchards doing a bit of scouting, but I would like to see the cherry orchards do more scouting than that. His opponent is Russia, who only has a single explorer who's likely to spend quite a lot of his time taking some of these high value treasures at the bottom, where he's currently working on a 80 XP treasure guided by 2 wolves, which he can easily, so he'll get his first shipment in very quickly, and the Russians' first shipment they usually send is the wood trickle, which provides an economic bonus but does not cost any population. So if he hasn't got a house down, he has got his house down, so you can just send that straight away. Quite a lot of other civilizations, if they get an early XP treasure, they may not be ready to use that early shipment once they get it. KingofOsmane's first shrine is on one of theonlybaus's forward hunts. I would probably say that's his 5th hunt there. However, it's quite central in the map, and in the second age, I'm sure the theonlybaus will be able to see that and maybe be able to siege that down at a later point. Any of these 2 hunts would have been a better hunt, possibly for your first shrine to go down on. Currently working his way onto a tomahawk treasure. The theonlybaus has been walking down to the south of the map, where he's picked up a sheep, he picked up the experience treasure there, and he's just picked himself up 75 food as well. A very important treasure for the Russian civilization there. Will help to queue in his age up a little bit faster. But the KingofOsmane's tomahawk is just, he's been sent north to have a little scout around. You don't want to walk too close to the Russian town centre to be picked off with, to lose any HP. However, the theonlybaus may not know what native Indian or native warrior treasure this could be. This could be the Cherokee, this could be the tomahawk. If theonlybaus is fully aware of the treasure spawn, he might be able to deduce it's the tomahawk. However, he needs to be concerned if the theonlybaus is going to move out to drop a forward blockhouse, because although this unit only has 10 siege damage, when a building's under construction, it will take 4 times that amount. So a blockhouse under siege from an Iroquois tomahawk will sustain a huge amount of damage as the building goes up, and could be able to be pushed down from the Japanese player in early colonial age. Treasure contention. The 2 Japanese explorers have seen that the theonlybaus is working on this 2 polar bear treasure of 120 food. However, the theonlybaus has backed out of this one and decided to take on the Iroquois tomahawk instead, thinking that his treasure is actually safe because the Japanese players struggle to take down his high HP units. However, the tomahawk has actually snared the Russian explorer, and the Russian is committed to taking this Iroquois tomahawk. The Japanese players have picked up the 120 food there, and the settlers have snuck by 3 forward settlers from the Russian player, forward blockhouse, which has not been sieged down by the group of the 2 explorers or the tomahawk. You can see that the KingofOsmane is trying his absolute best to preserve this unit, because he knows it's important to help deny the tomahawk. But once that tomahawk's gone down, There's nothing to deny his blockhouse, and I don't think King of Osmane has actually seen where it is. He's been sat in this area of the map here, and he might be unaware that villagers walked around this top path near the coast to get into this very forward build. He may have seen them though, because the treasure contention was here while they were fighting, and the Japanese explorers do have a decent line of sight, just like all the other explorers do, especially because they do have a nice range attack to go with it. 16 range attack. Mass walls are going down already for King of Osmane. Explorer stands in the middle of one of the walls. This is a high level move. This is blocking off the wall, and King of Osmane needs to do something very quickly to do this. He needs to possibly pull off an extra villager from the food or from the woods, and all hands on deck to block off this wall. A wall is as only good as how tight the wall is. If you have a hole in the wall, then that's not a good wall, is it? All the Cossacks will run in, and that could be a lot of dead Japanese units. And he's got to commit to. Yeah, he can't build both the walls at the same time. The Japanese units, they don't know which. Oh no, he's run away. He must have shift click. Oh no, there's a clear path in. Even if he took up the top, built the top section, the Cossacks could still path underneath it to Sugar Shrine. We've got 5 Cossacks in base, and I don't think King of Osmane has got any way to defend it apart from going idle. He's got no barracks. He's just Minutemen being called very quickly to scare it away, but 10 Strelets are following on behind. There is very little follow-up play at the moment, I can see. He needs to do something very reactive and do something quick. Shipment sent. We're still waiting for the first shipment sent by King of Osmane. He looks like he sent it now. May have double stacked and sends in 2 shipments at the moment, one after the other. 600 wood. Now he's getting 5 villagers gathering that straight away because he knows that he needs the wood urgently. But will the Russian player allow the Japanese player to even drop and build a military building? He's still got this hole in the wall, which even the moose have started to go against King of Osmane, blocking off that wall from being constructed. That might be why the wall failed to get up when the explorers off it and maybe had clicked onto it. But this front part of the wall still needs to be closed up, and we need to check what is in queue for the theonlybaus. Is he going for more units? Yes, 10 more Strelets is on the way. The Cossacks have waited for the pike militia of the Japanese player to reduce in HP, and then was also helped by a few remaining Strelets coming in. Colonial militia has been sent for the Japanese player, which one-shots the Cossacks, and very quickly. However, he might not want to overkill that one. He's overkilled that a little bit, especially with 135 range damage. That one Cossack was on 8 damage left. Still doing lots of damage, and all the settlers are still built up with no buildings being produced. I feel that he's called the irregular Minutemen. One Cossack going down, and all these strats going to be picked off one by one. Villagers running away from the town centre to get the barracks down, and he may want to run even more villagers away to get a market down as well. He's investing 400 wood into his barracks. He may need to send 600 wood again very soon after to help get some ashes being produced, close off the wall a little bit, and finally he's closed off the wall. The theonlybaus may be hoping that this wall is still open for him to walk through, but now as he sees that, he might be a bit upset, and the villagers just walk past this wall again. It might be that the moose has blocked the wall. I don't know if these animals have denied the wall being built. So if the villager wants to build the wall, whether the moose walk out the way and be polite like that, or are they actually hard-coded to stick onto the shrine now and not move? The theonlybaus pushed it into the south of the map with 10 Strelets and starting to siege away at the wall here. However, it will take a while for this to come through. The irregular minutes are going in for a few pot shots if they can. However, with 1 HP and less range than the Strelets, I'm not too sure that these irregular minutes will do much damage. Half a Strelet HP is taken out. 3 Yumi trained. Not much wood income at the moment. However, King of Osmane, with his heavily cami, has actually built a lot of shrines behind this. I have missed his shrine count. I've seen that the Russian player is starting to take control of the trading post line and has researched stagecoach on 2 trading posts before securing both the 3rd and the 4th trading post. The Russian player is on the 3rd trading post building this now, thinking all is well and dandy. Unfortunately, though, he's going to get a big shock when he sees a big disc big coin next to King of Osmane's name, which will let the Russian player know that he has lost control of one of the trading posts, and his research of Stagecoach is actually now benefiting. Yes, you can see the Russian explorer is walking down to the trading post as a normal shift click, and if you have resources available and you're building multiple trading posts, get your villagers on the trading post, get that site secured, because you never know, a Japanese player may be a little sneaky with his explorer, and sneak in before there and take out your trading post, take out your hunts, and cause a nuisance. This has sent all those strike pressure away from the front line of King of Osmane's base to the back of the base. He sent 5 fishing boats behind this to really make the most of economy. He's shrined the onlybaus' second or third hunts to north. This is usually a safe haven, resources of food, wood and coin for each player in most games on this map. You see even King of Osmane has got shrines, hunt at the back of his base, as well as a safe coin mine. But when the onlybaus walks to the top of this mine and sees that this has been shrined off, he will be very upset with this. 6 villagers have moved to the centre of the map to mine coin, and I don't believe these were sent out to mine coin, but actually were to hunt. Unfortunately, there's no hunts available. He may have looked at the top and realised that these were shrined off, and so we've got quite a lot of villagers wandering around, unsure what to do. Portuguese consulates, reduced building costs, 600 coin coming, gathered up, as the age up to the 3rd age is coming in for both players. Looks like the Japanese player is most likely to go with the Golden Pavilion, as per usual, with a fast age coming in from the onlybaus. Now, the onlybaus has 0 water cards, meaning that if King of Osmane does transition onto the water at some point later on, the Russian player cannot send a frigate and will have to play this on the land. Checking what King of Osmane's deck is like, he has the villager shipments of the 1st age and the 2nd age, and so he sent the 5 fishing boats instead of the 4 villagers. He does not have any other additional water cards and has a very standard looking deck for age 3 with the 7 villagers there, unit shipments and upgrades for their corresponding units, as well as the flaming arrows. 4 flaming arrows in the 4th age with Shogun Tokugawa, but no 14 Ashis or Yumis. Bestieros and Yumi archers at the front line, extending his wall down the edge of the map, which gives him protection to siege down one of the trading posts of the Russian player. The Russian player managed to capture back the trading post which was taken away from him by the Japanese player. However, in the process, he may lose the trading post furthest away from the Russian's base. 2 falconets at the front of the Japanese settlements, shooting down the consulates. However, the consulate has 3,500 hit points. It's a very large HP stats for a building like this, where the walls either side have only got 1,500, and maybe a quick way to pounce in. As you can see, it's providing enough time for King of Osmane to throw down a quick wall behind this. He's going to send a few extra settlers to build this wall. One wall's gone up. He's left the other wall undown. He may be scared that the strats may have gone on and denied him that, but King of Osmane needs to do something about this wall situation, because if he leaves it unwalled, sit down. The 2 falconets have just denied the wall building of the settler. 2 flame arrows being produced, and they're already firing on the falconets. You need to react quickly, otherwise you're going to lose your falconets. The second volley comes in from the flaming arrows and targeted the other falconet, possibly out of range. Some of the coin miners here are exposed, but we do have 10 villagers in the town centre, no more, no less. One of the flying arrows has flanked around the Tsushika Shrine to get some good shots on the falconets, and both falconets drop. And at the moment, King of Osmane has taken the score lead. He has a decent military size of Yumis, and he is representing his clan of Yumi Wall very well by going Yumis and Wars. So, news story number 1, King of Osmane picking Japan in his possible final match, on his match point, should I say. News flash number 2, he's going Yumi Wall, to nobody's surprise. Strelets on the middle of the map now, taking advantage of King of Osmane's very defensive positioning of his army behind his own walls at base, and is taking an opportunity to siege down all the shrines on the middle map, which denying the Russian player from being able to hunt and make the most of his map control and natural resources. The Russian player does have steel traps and greatcoats, so effective hunters, as well as being pretty resilient to any incoming raid, and may save a few lives those additional greatcoats. Remember, guys, get your greatcoats in. Russian player pushing out will be scouted out by the Russian player's stagecoach. The stagecoach does have a reduced line of sight, but still does have a line of sight so that they can see where the army is. However, could still be... Oh, he has lost the train post. He can't see where the army is based on the train post line of sight. Strelets moving forward. Veteran Strelets, but no upgrades as a result yet. He sent 6 Oplechniks, which may help siege down the shrines off the side and use the mobility of that to take down some of the more far away shrines of the Russian player, or he may use that as a battering ram to take down the layered walls of the Russian player. If that's the case, I'd be a bit worried as well, because Oplechniks, they do have range resist and an alright HP stat, but they're not meant to be used for unit engagements, and so it looks like he's pushing forwards onto the archer mass already as the main cavalry units of the Russian player. There's no Cossacks, there's no veteran Cossacks. The flame arrows might get picked off. Go for the flame arrows. Oh, he's slight delay there, ensure the flame arrows go back, but 150, 200 wood invested in the gates there to get the army back in safely, but it's been quickly taken down due to the Oplechnik's high siege damage. Disciplined Naginatas onto the front line of the Strelets, taking out Strelets in 2 hits, trying his best not to engage with the Oplechniks. Oplechniks being focused down by the town centre, and the Yumi archers. Big batch of irregulars being sent. Ashigaru's trained. Is that a shipment? No, the Naginatas was a shipment just a while back. The irregulars are pushing around this away, and that was a lot of units committed for the Russian player to try and bust down the front gates of the Japanese base and do some damage. However, he's hightailing it out there very quickly, and I feel that he may have thrown away a handful of resources on his Oplechniks to try and get down the walls, but once he got into the base, they couldn't do much against the Yumi mass there. If that was a mass of 20 Cossacks with maybe... Yeah, he's got the Cav Combat in now, but Cav Combat, Vet Cossack, Boyars... You'd have some very strong, or cheap Russian cavalry, which would do very well against the Yumi Archer mass of KingofOsmane. KingofOsmane has been very sensible about his position. He's starting to slowly take down his training post, but you can tell that he's not wanting to overcommit. He's very happy with his perceived economic advantage, military strength, and he does not want to be caught underneath the 2 blockhouses with all his army in a very weak position, but he's very happy sat near his walls. He's got a few more walls under construction, but not being built yet by a settler. Maybe a bit risky to send one of the villagers out there to construct this wall, but if that wall does go up, that will give him a very nice outpost to fire behind very safely. Gate has been built next to an empty wall section. Maybe that's accident, maybe that's intentional, I don't know. The army's not using the gate, they're just walking over the foundations. But some settlers are moving out to go onto a coin mine. Yes, they're going to a coin mine, but they're not building this wall. Yumi archers moving out. 8 Ashigarus shipped for KingofOsmane. No unit upgrades shipped as of yet for the Japanese player, although he has many upgrades in his deck. Both Yumi attack, Yumi range, the Ashigaru cards, the Naginata cards not being used, clubs being shipped. The consulate was changed onto the Japanese consulate, rebuilt in the back there to train the clubs and get the Japanese bonus on. Got the ranged infantry attack bonus from the Golden Pavilion. 5 musketeers being produced into the might of the Ashigaru musketeer mask, and the second blockhouse may be at risk going down. Has he got any other blockhouses? 1 blockhouse is in queue being thrown up in the centre of the map here. Artillery foundry. 3 falconets being produced here. Looking at the total military units on the field, we have 44 musks, 30 Strelets, but 3 falconets. And if the musketeers can protect the falconets can do very well against the archers. Only 1 shot goes off there, but KingofOsmane's seen this now. He's got a immobile army of infantry and cannon. He's starting to mass Naginata riders. He's got the Naginata rider hit point cards, the upgrade. He's starting to get a large mass, 20 of them. He's seen that some villagers on top of the map trying to hunt, mine, chop some wood. He's seen that with his line of sight of his shrines, and he's cut them off and pick up a large portion of the Russian villagers for near enough for free, and quickly take him down. Unfortunately, though, what he has done, he's got no boats in the pond, so he cannot retreat out via the sea if he get caught out. The Russian army is moving back in position to cut him off and cut off the Japanese army from any potential reinforcements moving from the centre of the map. Strelets out in front of the musketeers, absorbing the ranged damage of the Yumi archers, allowing the musketeers to close in, so that they can all fire onto the cavalry or the Yumi archers. Three falconets currently out of positioning, but just taking their time against the field. May wants to sit behind the Cree settlement. This is an impassable block, and oh no, falconets moving forward, but currently, yes, they're starting to get protected now by the musketeers, but the musketeers are moving fast. Yeah, musketeers out in front, need to stand and fight. This is decisive fight. Falconets targeting the Yumi archers. Naginata riders moving onto the south side, trying to engage with the Strelets and the cannons, and this is actually going very well for the Russian player so far. Unfortunately, though, the Yumi archers have focused down the cannon, and what's remaining is just Russian musketeers and Strelets versus very, very heavy upgraded cavalry to tank and high damage Yumis in the back shooting. And the theonlybaus has resigned. KingofOsmane has picked up this game number 4 in the best of 5 series and takes the series 3-1. And in this case, he did save his best civilization to last, and I was quite impressed. A bit of a struggle early on with the hole in the wall from the villager and the hero explorer from the Russian explorer standing in the middle of the wall, preventing this entire wall from coming up. And once the units of the Russian player came into his base, KingofOsmane was starting to freak out. He had no barracks, he had no units, he had no way of training units at that point, and there was 10 Strelets and 5 Cossacks underneath the town centre. The pike sentries were called, colonial militia was sent, and after defending his area with the colonial militia card, he could then re-wall up, secure his position, train a few units off 2 barracks, which he used in the 600 woods, and then from there, very smartly kept his shrine population boom going with the Portuguese consulate and the heavenly cabbie shipments. Stole a trading post off of the Russian player, sent 5 boats which have cleaned out this portion of the sea. They've paid off very well, and then once he was stabilised, was starting to grow both his economic, military, go to age 3, get tech advantage, and starts creating more powerful units than the Russian counterparts, and especially once he got to the disciplined Naginata riders with the cav HP upgrades, going up to 450 HP on his cavalry units. The theonlybaus went to fight the army, which was trapped behind the Russian player's base with no prospect of reinforcements. However, the Japanese army just overcame the Russian army quite comfortably, especially the Yumi archers, focusing firing down the cannons. And that is very well played from KingofOsmane for his Japanese civ, and his next opponent will need to take note of a good way to counter KingofOsmane's Japan, because the best perceived counter of Russia has failed to defeat KingofOsmane's Japan, and so KingofOsmane will move on to the next round in the Pro Division, I believe,